Welcome to my channel. Today we're going to be looking at Comic Psychological, an indie game that was released in 2020. The player takes on the role of a psychologist who is working with a superhero who has dissociative amnesia. In this game, you'll have to analyze crime scene photos, search for clues, interrogate witnesses and suspects, and even take part in some stealth missions. Let's get into it. So, Comic Psychological does something really cool. It actually breaks the fourth wall pretty early on. So, you've got this conversation between the player character, your psychologist, and then this other guy who is obviously not a part of the game because he is talking directly to you. So, we've got this sort of meta commentary going on. We also have this other guy. This is like a visual novel section. This is like a flashback sequence. It's very aware, and I think it does a great job of making us aware of what kind of game we're replaying. It also tells us exactly what we need to do, which I appreciate. So it's like someone holding your hand in the beginning, so you know how to play the game. Which I appreciated, because otherwise I probably would have been completely lost. Because, yeah, it's not like an obvious thing. Like, how do you play? You just click around and see what happens. I think the best way I could describe Comic Psychological is like Phoenix Wright meets Silent Hill. You've got the investigation sections which are reminiscent of Phoenix, right where you go around, you talk to people. You look for clues, and you've got the psychological horror elements of Silent Hill. Like, there are definitely some jump scares in this game, but it's more about building up a sense of dread and tension. You've got a sanity meter which will decrease when you are investigating crime scenes or searching for clues. But I find these segments were not that scary. Like, I didn't really feel scared. I felt more creeped out than anything. Maybe if they had been a little bit longer or a little bit more intense, they could have been more terrifying. But I thought they did a great job of building up the atmosphere. The other main element of the game is the visual novel style segments. These segments usually take place in the protagonist's apartment or in the car. These sections involve a lot of dialogue and character development, and they are kind of important to the story. So even though I enjoyed them, they kind of made me feel like I was playing a visual novel, which isn't what I expected when I started playing the game. So it was a nice surprise, but I think that those sections could have been better integrated into the game. It just felt like there were two different games being played here. So you've got the visual novel segments, which are slow-paced and dialogue-heavy, and then you've got the investigation segments, which are fast-paced and action-packed. I think that having two different genres in one game isn't necessarily bad, but I feel like they could have been better integrated into one another. Okay, so now we're getting to the actual meat of the gameplay. We've got the investigation segments. So these segments took place in a variety of different locations, such as a house, a school, and a hospital. The player character will have access to a variety of different items, such as a flashlight, magnifying glass, and a camera. So these items can be used to examine the crime scenes and search for clues. So you might use your flashlight to reveal some body fluid in a dark corner, or use your magnifying glass to see some tire tracks outside the victim's house. Okay, so once the player character has gathered enough evidence, they will confront the suspect and try to convince them to confess. So this is where the Phoenix Wright-esque segments come in. So the player character will present the evidence they have gathered and try to build a case against the suspect. If the player nails it, the suspect will confess. The music in comic psychological, totally on point, creepy and unsettling, but not overdone. The sound design is solid too. Those jump scares hit just right, not cheap at all, and the voice acting really good. The characters come to life thanks to the talented voice actors. So here's the thing. Comic Psychological is a game that tries to do a lot. It's a murder mystery game, a psychological horror game, a visual novel, and a stealth game all in one. And I think it does a decent job of balancing all of these different genres. However, I don't think it excels in any one particular area. So the game is ambitious, but I don't think it quite succeeds in its ambition. It's also a very slow burn. The game builds and builds and builds, but doesn't really pay off in the end. I found the ending to be particularly unsatisfying. I don't want to say too much without giving away any spoilers, but I just felt like all of the build-up didn't really amount to anything. The other thing I want to mention is that the game is very linear. There is no real freedom to explore the environments or make your own choices. You pretty much just follow the game's story beats. Another thing I want to mention is that this game is very clearly inspired by Silent Hill, and that's a good thing for the most part. But I feel like it relies on Silent Hill's nostalgia a little bit too much. For example, the protagonist is a copy of Harry Mason from Silent Hill, and the plot is very similar to Silent Hill 2. Alright? So overall, I would rate Comic Psychological a 6.5 out of 10. It's not a bad game by any means. I just have a few issues with it. If you're a fan of Silent Hill or Phoenix Wright or psychological horror games in general, I would definitely recommend checking it out. But if you're not a fan of those things, I can't really recommend it. It's just a little bit too weird of a game for me. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and subscribe for more content. Thank you for watching and have a good night.